And welcome again to the Cosmic Prayer here on New Thought Media Network. Of course, this incredible focus ministry ministering over the airwaves with amazing shows, broadcasts, and education and entertainment for us to understand the truth of who we truly are. And with each broadcast, this brings us a little closer to this knowing in our hearts and in our minds of how we can use these new thought principles, the science of mind principles, these wonderful technologies such as prayer and meditation for our own lives. And so welcome here today. The Cosmic Prayer, of course, is all centered around an ongoing long conversation that's been happening since August 2020. Every week I invite on an inspirational leader, guest, a way shower, a visionary, a person who has something so special to share about their understanding of prayer and how prayer has affected their lives. Spiritual mind treatment, of course, this is what we know it as here. And so this week, of course, I am really, really excited that Reverend Martha Quintana, who is the Director of Global Services, Centers for Spiritual Living, is joining us here on the Cosmic Prayer. This is amazing. Reverend Martha has dedicated her life to the transformation of others' lives through inclusivity and respect and opportunities to create unity. And through her service to the global and local Center for Spiritual Living communities, she embraces the power of science of mind and spirit to bring others into a new expression of conscious thinking. Yes, Reverend Martha is the Director of Global Services for Center for Spiritual Living in Colorado, and she has served for 11 years transforming a community, a Centers for Spiritual Living community around at the Rio Grande Center for CSL in Albuquerque. And I'm just feeling so grateful and blessed that Reverend Martha is here right now on the Cosmic Prayer. So I'm adding her into the stream and bringing you on. Welcome, Reverend Martha. Thank you for being here today.
Good morning, Laura. Thank you for asking me.
It's wonderful. I love the background that you've chosen. It's so powerful, and it just looks great with the blue and your energy. You're bringing this in. It's really good, and you're bringing this all into the Cosmic Prayer today. And the show really we center here on a thread of a conversation that's been happening for many weeks here on New Thought Media Network, where bringing the awareness of spiritual mind treatment and prayer into the foreground so that people that are watching now, hi if you're watching now or at any point, can learn from others' experience of prayer. And I'm wondering for you how that first began, what your very first experience of either spiritual mind treatment or that communion with God, the divine, what that was like and how that came through for you.
Well, when I came to Science of Mind, I was a single mom. It was many years ago. I was a single mom, and my daughter was very small. She was a toddler, and I was not having a good time with my life. I was just not, and I had my life didn't seem to be working. I was extremely overweight, and I thought, and in those days, I thought, if only I could lose weight, my life would be better. That was my thing, at that time, was like, if only I could lose weight, I'd be better. And so I went to see, I had started attending the First Church of Religious Science here in Albuquerque, and one of the practitioners, and so they kept talking about science of mind, they kept talking about treatment, and I thought, okay, I didn't believe in prayer anymore, but I started to believe in conscious thinking. I had begun to believe in that. And so I went to see a practitioner, and I explained to her about all my issues, and I told her all of this stuff that was going on, but I didn't really think it could work. And because I was such an extreme case, And so she said to me, well, okay, let me get this straight. So God is everywhere? And I said, yes. except for where you're seated. And then I realized how ridiculous I was, and I started laughing, and I said, yes, that's exactly what I've been thinking, that whenever God was handing out blessings, I was standing behind the door and somehow I didn't get any. And that began to transform my life. That began to transform a lot of things. And so I began to change my life, change my thinking and change my life. But the difficulty with that is I had to change. I had to think of myself differently. I had to, because I think all too often, and I know I've fallen into this trap in the past. I think a lot of times people go, change your thinking, change your life. And everybody goes, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. That sounds, oh, yeah, 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 yeah. You know, it's easy, but it's simple, but it's not easy. And a lot of people interpret this. It's like, you change so I can be happy. If you change, I'll be happy, you know? And so I began to see that really this idea about change meant that I needed to think of myself differently, that I needed to love myself. Um, and so the beautiful thing about Science of Mind and the Science of Mind community I fell into, and I do say fell into, they began to love me until I could love myself. And so I'm keeping off 155 pounds. And you know, life's totally different these days. And so it can change, but I had to think differently. I had to act differently. I had to be different. And that's what Science of Mind taught me to do.
Oh, Reverend Martha, thank you so much for your authenticity and for sharing this in this way. And I feel that for those that are listening right now, welcome into the Cosmic Prayer broadcast with Reverend Martha Quintana. And I was just about to say, I feel that's such a powerful, well, it's not just a message or a story. It's like, it's what happened for you. It's so powerful because you're a living demonstration of how a shift in consciousness, which is really what I believe spiritual mind treatment helps us to do, or can help me to do, is to change my own consciousness, and how that showed up for you in the outer, in the external of your body. That must have been so empowering for you as a person to see that happening and to be a part of that and to witness it. That must have been so empowering.
Well, it happens slowly over time, of course. And
yeah,
but the idea that started to happen was that I quit apologizing for being me. You know, I'd always been a very big personality and taken up a lot of room, and I was trying not to do that. You know, I was trying to be small and different and live up to other people's expectations. And then I began to really see that the best thing I could do for anybody is just be me, be the best me I could be. And by doing that, I was able to begin empowering others to be the best them they could be. And it's only, I'm here. And here's the thing, it's like we're each like a fingerprint, you know? We're the only ones. I'm the only me I can be. I'm the only Martha I can be. I don't know how to be anybody else, even if I try. And believe me, I tried. I'm a fingerprint. I'm supposed to be here exactly the way I'm supposed to be here. And you're supposed to be here exactly the way you're supposed to be here. And so is every single person. And so the opportunity becomes, what exactly is that? And how exactly can I express myself in a way that that brings joy to myself and to others, and that allows me to live a life that I've come here to live.
And what I really feel in what you're saying, that word, I've written it down twice here. I've written two words down. One is change. What changed for you? You answered that. You know, you made the change. You were the one that changed for you. And what is it do you feel about change? It's like, that is like, for me, that's like the pivotal piece here. We find it so hard to to change, even if it's changing from something we don't like. It can be difficult, can't it? And then that you accepted prayer as the way, or spiritual mind treatment, or a whole way of being differently, and that did it for you. That opened up another world of possibilities. What do you think, for people that are watching right now, is the block with change?
Well, here's what I think happens is, and I'll talk about prayer and then why our prayer is so profound,
Yeah.
is we are spiritual beings. We are pure energy. And so my spirit weaves a personality to meet the conditions of my time, to meet the conditions of my life. And so that personality is the container for that life, for those conditions that I'm meeting. And then, for example, now in the pandemic, I think one of the reasons that people are having difficulty, and I know I've seen this in myself, is that before the pandemic, my spirit had woven this personality to meet the conditions of my life in that moment. But now suddenly all the conditions changed. So here's my personality running down the road, meeting these conditions. And I think, and suddenly there's a whole different world out there. So my spirit is having to do some reweaving. And that's where my willingness comes into play. So in terms of prayer, our kind of prayer, so it's based in quantum physics. Which means that, so to simplify it really quickly, so energy unobserved moves in waves. Yes, we know that. So energy unobserved moves in waves, but the moment it becomes observed, it collapses into particles. It collapses into potentiality. So in our form of prayer, we're essentially observing energy. And so when we go into prayer, it's not please God, and I used to pray these prayers too, so that I'm speaking with authority when I say this. Please God, get me out of this situation. I promise I'll never do it again. And then, of course, I would do it again. And then I would say, well, God, you knew me. Of course I was going to do this again. So, but here's the thing about our prayer is that we are meeting energy right where it is and changing it at the point of origin, at the point of cause, not effect. I was only stirring the pot when I kept saying, well, tomorrow I'll get a better diet. Tomorrow I'll have a better diet. Tomorrow I'll have a better diet. That wasn't shifting anything because I was just stirring the pot. there was these conditions that I was meeting. But when I began to know that I go into prayer and I'm observing energy at the origin, at the cause, and I observe energy, it collapses into potentiality, right? So when we have that moment in prayer of our form of prayer, affirmative prayer, when we have that moment in prayer, when we look at it and we go, I can see it. That moment when you can see it, it's a vision. You know what it tastes like, feels like, smells like, who's going to be involved. That's the demonstration. And at that point, we let it go and let it manifest in the world. Now, the final part of this is we have to accept it. If I'm sitting around going, oh, I'm not worthy of my own prayer, I'm just not. And that happens so often. I want this thing, but if I'm not worthy of this thing, then you know what? The prayer is out there. It's a little energy being out there in the world, and it's going to fall on somebody who does think that they are capable. So, so often we meet people who will say, oh, I keep praying and I keep praying, but it doesn't happen for me. But gosh, my neighbor got a new car, or my neighbor was able to do this, and other people seem to have peace, but not me. Well, what's the acceptance level? Have I already
Yes.
accepted this thing that I'm praying for? And so that's the beauty of our prayer. So that was the beauty of the prayer. I had to change how I thought about myself. I had to accept it, continually accept it on a deeper and deeper and deeper level. And that's how it began to shift. And I didn't do it with surgery. I didn't do it with any of that. It was, can I believe in myself enough to make this happen. And that's what the bottom line is.
And what level also believing in the divine, in God, in this creative presence and power, that I feel for me, that plays a part also. It's like for me, when I'm praying and knowing, or when I've let that go, and even if I accept it within myself, if I still have that piece of doubt in me that it's being done or it won't be done for me because, God doesn't, as you said, God's kind of passed me by. Yeah.
It's funny, isn't it? We're just such funny people.
Isn't it? Isn't it? How we can say these things and catch it in our minds, and yet when it comes into our heart, there's a block or a resistance. And I loved what you said about, saying it from the place of the effect is really, it's like there's no power in that because it's done. It's not coming from the place of cause where we're in the infinite there. There's this infinite love that wants to love through us.
Because what happens so often is I don't like the effect of my thinking anymore. Ernest Holmes talked about, can I bear the burden of my own thoughts? And that's when I find myself like stuck in some anxiety or stuck in an anger or something that scares me. Can I bear the burden of my own thoughts? And that's when that's the prayer I have to pray.
Yeah.
It's like that divine within. I can't bear the burden of these thoughts any longer, So, because that's the manifestation, that's the demonstration for me. And
Right.
yeah.
And and what I love about the example that you're sharing here is that it couldn't have been a quick process. It had to be slow anyway, because you were changing your body, literally. You were changing the makeup and the biological makeup of your body. And so that is a slow process anyway. And that takes time, that takes patience, and that takes a willingness to love ourselves, to do that. And so it feels so beautiful that you had that time to then really invest that in you and in your understanding of the connection that is always here. And that just feels so powerful, because it doesn't feel like it's just to get quick something, a quick fix.
Well, and Ernest Holmes talked about that. There is no this isn't a get rich quick scheme. A lot of people come in and they want theirs, want a big house and a car and and there's nothing wrong with that. Believe me, absolutely nothing wrong. But if you're not happy, it's not going to make you happy.
Right. Right. And so prayer for you is a ... Prayer for me is, I don't want to fill in the dot. I was going to invite you to say what prayer means for you.
Prayer for me is everything these days anymore. It's the more I've dived into the divine, and the more there is to dive into. It's an ever expanding, ever growing field for me, because it's consciousness. And I've met people who will say, oh, I understand everything about science of mind. I'm going to move on now because I understand everything. And I'm like, oh my God, maybe I'm just too slow. I don't know. Maybe I'm just slow. I don't know. But for me, I'm not done. It's this whole mystical path, this whole infinite energy and universe that we're in is an ever expanding field of awareness. And if I'm willing to be here with it and allow spirit to weave, constantly be weaving, it's just like with the physical body, spirit is constantly weaving. And can I be still long enough? Can I have patience? And believe me, I am not a patient woman. I am not. But what I do know how to do is surrender. I go, okay, that's it. I don't know what to do with this thing, but I know God does. I know there's some 10,000, 30,000 foot perspective that I just cannot have. I cannot reach right now. And here's the other thing I would say is it's not necessary to do it all by ourselves. I have prayer partners. I have prayer partners. I have people who believe in me, even when I can't believe in myself. I have these people in my life that just love me unconditionally, and I can go to them because sometimes I'm just too stuck in my issue. It's like, holy moly, I just can't see it any different. Please help me. I know I'm in trouble here. And I have people in my life who will pray with me, for me, until I can shift those gears again, because I get stuck, and I would highly recommend that for anybody else who's out there who has, because we're just human, it's like, and we're not alone, not ever, not ever.
Yes, and I'm so pleased that you've mentioned this about prayer partnerships, because it by sharing in a prayer partnership, we're also surrendering as well. We're saying I can trust that someone else can take this with me and know the truth for this. Where often we have our head stuck and our heart stuck in the actual event or experience, it's hard to see outside of it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I'm just really cool to ask, because you talk about that point where you discovered science of mind, and then you discovered spiritual mind treatment and began using that for your own life. And you said that lots changed because you became aware. You became aware of your own thinking and your own thought processes and your own beliefs, and that you made a choice to change that. And choice is for me, it's like that's like the pinnacle of the whole thing here. When we make a choice, so much can change. And what else happened for you? As a minister now, as a reverend, and leading this amazing community you led for and still lead in other ways. What at what point did you, or was there a point where you believed, well, this isn't just for me, this prayer, I can use this for in such a great way to assist humanity?
In my early life, I was always in politics. I loved politics. It's very active, socially active. And when I found science of mind, I went, this is it. Because until I found science of mind, I had been stirring the pot. I had just been stirring the effect. I wanted people to change. I was like, come on, people, let's change. This world could be so much better, people. Come on. And there's nothing wrong with that, but everybody had their own idea of what that looked like, and we couldn't seem to all run down the football field in the same direction. I mean, it was hard. And so when I got to science of mind, what I recognized was that there is a divine law, and there is a divine law, and that is the law of our lives. And so once I began ascribing to that law and began inviting people into that energy field with me, and they began ascribing to that divine law, then I began to realize that how it manifests in people, it depends on the individual. Some people take it back into education, other people take it back into business or government, and then now when and because this is an energy field and prayer creates an energy field, when there's battle going on, and I want to do it. I want to give a shout to Reverend Beth Linguri in Switzerland, because she decided that she wanted to create a spiritual chain reaction for the people of Ukraine. And we have a center and several practitioners in Ukraine. And she began to do that. And when I sign on with her during the day, I know things are changing there, because we're creating an energy field for change, for peace, for goodness. And I know, in my heart, I know that it's working. And so what the news reports is not always everything that's happening. So
Yeah.
so anyway, yeah. So this whole prayer, utilizing the energy field, because we're weavers. Once we observe that energy, then it's ours to weave. And it's like we look into the energy field in the prayer and just say, can I see this piece? And to keep looking and to keep looking and to keep looking to see the piece. For Ernest Holmes, prayer was not an easy thing. You know, he said, do not say you're going to pray for somebody unless you're willing to make that change. And so it would take him 2 or 3 hours sometimes to just begin to see it. And I understand that, because sometimes I can't see it. So I have to just keep sitting with it until I can see it.
Yes. Yes. And that can take, more than one time of being in that place of communion. It's a commitment to an ongoing process within, and making that allowance for that transformation in our own consciousness. And it can bring up a lot of resistance also.
Yes. Well, because there's really no one outside of us that we're praying for. It's our eyes that see the situation. So for example, if you came to me and said, can you pray for me for X or Y? Well, I may never have met you before, but now I have it. You know, it's like catching a cold, right? So catching Laura. So Laura comes to me and she says, can you pray for me for X or Y? And essentially the prayer is, I'm speaking to the Laura within. Laura within,
Right.
let's talk. You know, and that, so I'm creating a container for this shift that the Laura outside has asked for, but I'm creating the shift inside. And so once the shift happens, once I see once I see it inside of me, now the Laura outside is the one that has to accept that it's going to happen. But I'm not necessarily praying for Laura outside. I'm praying for the Laura that I've met and has presented this condition for prayer. And so that's where the prayer happens. It's not like, I'm not sitting with you in the foxhole going, dear God, please don't let this happen again. And Laura will never let this happen again. Just let her get away with it this time, please, and it's, but that's not what's happening. It's the Laura within, this Laura here. I'm talking to you. And so let's talk. So, and a lot of energy and a lot of information gets revealed sometimes.
Yes.
So.
Yes. And I'm really interested in this. If you could go even a little bit deeper into this, because I know that when I'm stating a spiritual mind treatment for myself personally, or for my life, or an experience of my life, that it doesn't always happen. As you said, it's not a quick fix. It's not get rich quick. That this is a whole change in consciousness. And then I'll be guided inspired into actions, or doing things a different way in my spiritual practice. I'm then inspired on a journey that takes me round and about, and because it's never a direct journey, it will take me round the houses and I'll be thinking, where am I going? What am I doing? I don't mean literally, but I mean, why have I been guided in this direction? Why have I been called to speak to this person? Why have I been, opened up to say yes to this opportunity that's coming my way, when it's got nothing really, I think, to do with the spiritual mind treatment and what I was saying and declaring in that treatment? Could you speak on that for a little bit, or for a while, just to your idea of why that would be happening?
Well, sometimes it's a process to figure out what's underneath it all. Many years ago, this is a long time ago, I was talking to a guy who wanted me to pray for a red sports car for him. And so I said, okay. And so I started to pray, and I said, I said, I came out, I was like, what's the reason that you want a red sports car? And he said, oh, because all the women will love me. And so I went, I said, well, why do you want all the women to love you? And at that point, he paused and got really sad. And he said, because then I could find a wife and have a family.
Right.
And so I said, so really, it's not about the red sports car. It's about having a wife and a family. And he said, yes. And so that's what we prayed for.
Right.
I lost touch with him. He did get a red sports car, but I lost touch with him. But I think he was dating somebody he probably eventually married. But that was the process for him. So on the face of it, he thought he wanted a red sports car, and that's cool. Maybe I want a red sports car, but what is that? And that's okay. That's truly, I like that. I like this car that's come out, and hey, I want that. I've got speed on my fingertips. That's all cool. But a lot of times the same thing happens to me. I'm like, well, I think I want this, but really so this whole process you talk about. And then a lot of times too, there's a refinement that happens,
Yes.
So I lost all this weight. Okay, great. Now what's happened from there is it's a relationship with food and the world that's happened. It's a refinement. It's no longer about losing weight. It's about having a relationship with food. And food is the place where the earth enters my body. That's where I take the earth in. And so how do I do that respectfully? How do I do that in a way that honors the earth and my body? So it's become about respect. It's become about, there's a lot to it, but if you had asked me in the beginning,
Yeah.
I would have just said, listen, I just need to lose some weight here, because then if I lost weight, then I would have a life like this man with a red car. If I could lose weight, then I'd have a life. And I got the life. It wasn't because of the weight loss, if that makes sense. It was because of the weight loss, if that makes sense.
And yet, absolutely. And we're always being shown in the effect of our lives where we can where we can reveal truth. So for you, you had to see it in the outer of your body. You had to feel it in your body to be able to get to that place where, here's this technique I can use. And there's something happening here that's just amazing. It's called God. It's called the divine. I can use this. It's amazing. And that, I think that's so beautiful, because it shows that we're willing to open up to looking at our lives honestly. Ernest Holmes tells us, not to turn away from the condition, to actually use the condition as a way of saying, well, how can I look at this and really make a change in a powerful way, rather than making the outside the wrong place or the wrong thing.
Here's the other difficulty in all that, is a lot of the conditions that we find ourselves in, are things that come out of our families. So they were programmed in there even before we arrived on the planet. And so when we're beginning to change conditions of our lives, a lot of times it may take us out of some tradition of family or out of some tradition of our community. And that's where sometimes it gets a little difficult. Because for me, that meant that, and I'll just use the example of the food again, that meant that I come out of a Hispanic family. I love my Hispanic family. We eat red chili and tortillas and enchiladas and, this food that is so good. Well, for me and my body and the way I am, I choose not to eat it any longer. And because I can't bear the consequence of it. So So it's meant, finding alternative recipes. It means just showing up and being with people sometimes. But it took me out of the traditions, a lot of my traditions. And
Mm.
was I willing to do it? And the answer is yes. I see a question coming through.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yes. Let's bring in the people, the beautiful people that are here right now. We have Wayne. Hello, Wayne. Welcome to the Cosmic Prayer. And Fiona has dropped in and been here. Of course, hi, Fiona. Welcome. You're in Geneva, in Switzerland, I know. And also we have Bonnie. Sandra. Sandra is here. Hello, Sandra. Great to be with you.
Sandra.
Having trust to change. Yes. And Fiona, wonderful. And Wayne, it's great to be back here with you again. And Bonnie has a question. Bonnie is here. Let's tune into Bonnie's question. Thank you for asking. Did you experience any fear around your weight loss? For example, who will I be without the weight?
Ironically, yeah. Well, yes, because ironically, what I found out was that I used the weight to be noticed. And I didn't want to be noticed for that, but I did use the weight to be noticed. And it also was a nice way to hide in plain sight. And um, so, yes, so I had to keep talking to myself about it. I just had to keep talking to myself. And as I changed, um, and here's the thing is, there had to be something, there had to be a vision better than the food. Food is
Right,
tasty. Oh my God, it's so
right,
delicious. So there had to be something about it that I wanted to change. Part of it was playing basketball with my daughter, being able to run with her, hiking. We hiked the Inca Trail to Machu Picchu in Peru several years ago, to walk with my husband around a field. I mean, just to live this life and be in my body and experience my life. That was more delicious than the food.
right.
And so my life today is far more delicious than any food that I could ever eat. And so, as long as I could keep that vision in front of me, then I'm able to maintain this. The moment that the food becomes more delicious than my life, then that's when I know I need to get back to prayer and I need to get back to I need to get back. And here's the other thing. And thank you, Bonnie, for reminding me of this. I really believe that we have to be pulled by a vision and not pushed by the pain. Initially I wanted to lose weight because I didn't like the effects of my eating. I didn't like the effects of what I was doing to myself. But I had to be pulled by a vision, the vision of a life that gave me more, the vision where I could be a full participant in my daughter's life, where I could be a full participant with my husband. And he's very athletic. You know, Here's the front row seat I have. He's very athletic and he gets to eat anything he wants. I'm like, holy moly, God. But it's it's okay, and I have to laugh sometimes when I watch him like devour these things and I'm like, sigh. But it's his, and but but here's the thing is that the few no's that I have allow me to say yes to all my yeses. I don't have that
Right,
many things that I need to say no to.
right.
But I have so many yeses today.
And do you think also when you're sharing that about you and your husband and being athletic and how, you enjoying this quality, this life I love that you said delicious. It's like, oh my gosh, Reverend Martha, I'm waiting for your delicious book to come out here. It's like my delicious life. It's that piece of trusting again, that even if you did eat what you wanted to one day, that it would never be how it was because you've grown too much within yourself and your knowledge and your consciousness for it to have to kind of it's having that trust. It's that trust piece that you're safe to express yourself and feel okay with that.
Well, yeah, it's going back to your original question about this kind of circuitous thing that happens. It's a refinement that
Yeah.
happens. It's like sometimes, and we've all experienced this. It's like I thought I forgave that person, or I thought I did this already, and here it
Yes.
is again. Why? Why? At some deeper, larger, bigger level or something. But it's because I think initially we get rid of the big chunks, just like the big
Yeah.
chunky things, and then we began to shift. And here's the importance, going back to the authentic self. Um, if I am able to shift these things in me, I shift these things in the consciousness, because I don't exist outside of consciousness.
Yeah.
I am one of the many in consciousness, and I can shift these things in consciousness through prayer, through going back into that energy field and seeing it differently. The fact that I see it for myself and differently attracts others who want to see it differently too.
Yes. And do you think in general, as a collective, we underestimate the power of using spiritual mind treatment, affirmative prayer? I'll call it affirmative prayer, because I'm listening to you and what you have described as setting that intention to make a change, using spiritual mind treatment, and then that treatment opening up a whole world of opportunity for you to heal in other ways for the whole of your life holistically.
Well, yes, here's the problem. We spend 16 hours every day awake in these physical bodies. We trot around in our bodies and we go to work or do whatever we do all day long. And so it's hard to remember that we're spiritual beings, that we're changeless beings in changing conditions, because all day long I'm sitting in this body doing physical things. And so it's easy to start thinking that I'm a changing being in changeless conditions,
Right.
but I'm a changeless being in changing conditions. And
Yeah.
and so if I can stay in this, in my spirit, the spirit that's the weaver, um, then I can begin to shift at origin, at cause. And it's the old, it's the old analogy where you reach one peak and then you look over and you go, oh, here's another one over here. Or but you have to take that step. And it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter if you make a mistake. It doesn't matter if the step wasn't totally successful today, but you made it. And it's those steps. A lot of times people will say, I want to be a millionaire. And it's like, well, what's going on right now? Well, I don't have $50 even. I'm $50 under in my bank account. And it's like, okay, so let's get you to the $50 first.
Yeah.
And, and then, it's like a lot of times people, and some people do, like some people do get that the $1 million windfall. But most of us do it at the one step at a time way. It's
Yeah.
like suddenly, well, now I have 10. Okay, this week I have 100, and I'm pretty happy about that. And then and slowly we make our way to that place where the abundance is. We've always had it. It's just how big can we become to handle it. And
Right.
so and again, it's all a process, a refinement, and we as people, it might shock us too much to suddenly be in the $1 million club.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah. And how we handle a small amount of money is going to be the same way that we handle a large sum of money in consciousness.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Yeah.
So it's for me personally, it's knowing that that I'm able to manage my life in all areas in the fulfillment of that as love, um, and peace and harmony. Um, and then that for that showing up, then that's like, okay, that's going to show up in different areas of my life. It's so beautifully. So I enjoy my life in all ways, holistically, rather than for one piece. Although I really understand and know what it's like when one of those pieces is crumbling, or all of them. Yeah.
Yes.
So do you believe that community, Centers for Spiritual Living is so wonderful because it offers this amazing opportunity for us to commune together and be as one, as a collective, as one, as a collective? And how has that really helped you in your just staying on this choice, I suppose, of opening up to the teachings of science of mind and not veering away and saying I've done with that and moving on to the next, or the next shiny object, if there is one? How's community assisted you with that?
When I first got to Science of Mind, there was a wonderful community of people around me. And then when I became, then I studied to be a practitioner. I remembered that as a child, I thought I was going to be a priest, but that was the word of my childhood. And so then I studied to be a minister. I became a practitioner, and I'm taking you through the fast process. Became a minister, and I thought, and it was God thumping me on the head, going, well, you need to start a center. And I'm like, no, I really don't. Do you know how much work that is? Come on, God. And so I got thumped a few times, and then finally started the center, and it was wonderfully successful. And the people that came, because any center, any community is the people that are in it. And so the people that came were amazing. And we changed each other, because we were willing to do the work together.
Right.
And so the community has become, it's like-minded people, and it's also how we come together as a group of people. What is it that we want our environment to be? And here's the thing is that as long as I'm caring for my community, and it's not only my spiritual community, but my city, my neighborhood, then I can be healthy. If I have a healthy environment, then I can be healthy. It's not the other way around. If I'm just focused on myself all the time, I'm healthy, but I'm not willing to be out in the world creating a healthy world. If I want to see peace in the world, not only do I have to know peace, but I have to say, where can that happen?
Mm-hmm.
That's why I was admiring Reverend Beth in Switzerland, because she was like, listen, people, we need a spiritual chain reaction. And I'm like, yeah, we do. Thank you, Reverend Beth, and so if we're willing to be out in the community, in the world, that's how we become healthy as individuals. And there are so many issues out there, holy moly, there's issue. We could work all day. But the thing is, if I let peace guide the way, if I let love guide the way, then I know what's mine to do. I don't have to take on the entire world. Then I know what's mine to do. Then I can recognize when someone's doing good work out in the world. And the people in Science of Mind are doing such great work. Laura, you're doing such amazing work. And I so admire you for what you're doing. You have the courage to do this, to bring different people's viewpoints on, to do your work, your personal work, your studies. You're amazing. And how beautiful is that? You're doing your part. That's what you're called to do. And look how wonderful it is.
Oh, Reverend Martha, thank you so much for saying that. I mean, I'd say the same for you, not the same words, and yet the same feeling that I have of who you are and what you're sharing, and how you're sharing your knowledge and wisdom through global services and at Centers for Spiritual Living, by literally making changes in consciousness and practically for the organization and for people around the world to feel the impact of these teachings. And I thank you for being that person to say yes to holding that baton and saying, yes, let's do this. Let's do this with love.
Can I tell you something that I'm really excited about?
Yeah.
Do we have time?
We do. Absolutely. We have 5 minutes. Wow, 5 minutes. Gosh.
Wow.
Yes, please share.
Okay. So this summer, Global Services is the arm of Centers for Spiritual Living that reaches out to the international community. So communities outside of the United States and Canada, although arguably Canada could be there too, but outside the United States and Canada, we work with the communities, with people who are trying to study, start new centers, etc. And so I'm really excited because this summer I'll be traveling around Europe, meeting different people. I hope to see you in person, Laura, and but meeting people and figuring out ways that we can make Science of Mind stronger in Europe. And so so I'm really excited about that. And it's going to culminate in Switzerland. The CSL, Centers for Spiritual Living Switzerland, is doing a conference in Geneva this summer, and I'm really, really excited. I'm hoping that people in Europe will be able to get there because it's so wonderful. And it's the dates are, I believe, August the 10th, 12th through the 15th is what I believe the dates are. And you can reach them by going to CSL Switzerland on their website. The other thing that's going on this summer that I'm really excited about is in Latin America, the folks in Chapala are also doing a retreat, a conference, and theirs is the first week in August, and they'll be putting up the registration for that. But they draw people from all over Latin America, from Argentina, from Peru, from Mexico, from Costa Rica, many of the Spanish-speaking people in the United States, and even people who don't speak Spanish all go to Chapala. It's right outside Guadalajara, Mexico, and they do some incredible work there as well. And so we're slowly building these conferences, these retreats, to allow people outside, or it allows people from outside of the United States to meet together and to be pulled by a vision as well. What is the vision for this community? What is the vision for Science of Mind in our communities? And so, so I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited to see you this summer and to be out there. So yeah, anyway, if anybody has a question about global services or about any of these retreats, please call me. Yeah, I don't know if you can put this up. It's
I'm doing that now. Yes.
Yeah, my email is Quintana, Quintana @csl.org. And so I'm just really excited about that.
Yes, I've put your email up here so people can contact you and connect with you.
Yay,
I was going to ask you how you could be contactable there. So if you're interested in anything that Reverend Martha is involved with in terms of Centers for Spiritual Living and Global Services and her incredible work. And as you were saying all of this, Reverend Martha, I was just really kind of linking, you know, where you stepped in and surrendered because of how you felt about your body. And now here you are, director of global services, kind of like the body of the world, the planet. You've taken on a greater body and said yes to it. And the power of your choice, your decision to pray and to use these amazing tools for your life and surrender into them. What an example. What an example for us all. Really, truly.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Laura, for being here, for allowing me to be here today. I'm really excited that you said yes.
Yeah, it's amazing. And Reverend Martha, yes, anybody that's watching now, or if we do have one more comment before we go, we have another comment here. Anyone that's watching now, you can connect with Reverend Martha on that email address, and also look at csl.org, rcsl.org, and you can find out more about the global services and Centers for Spiritual Living as well. Reverend Robert, welcome to the conversation. Great to be here with you right now. And of course, New Thought Media Network is a Centers for Spiritual Living focus ministry, doing incredible things globally, also with our intention to share these teachings around the world to humanity, with humanity. And if this you love, then do check out our website and be a part, woven into the consciousness with your conscious giving. Of course, we know that God is our source, and we practice this law of reciprocity. You feel to pull by this vision of New Thought Media Network, then of course you can donate into the network and offer your love offering there financially. ntmedia.org. There we go, /donate. And Reverend Martha Quintana, thank you so much for being here and shining your light and sharing your love. And I would love to ask you if you would consider praying us out, sharing a prayer here on the Cosmic Prayer today.
Sure, I would love to. Thank you for asking.
Great.
So knowing that love is all there is, I recognize it right here, right now, in everything. Every person on the planet, every creature of the earth, every fish of the sea, the stars, the moon, for that sun shining on the earth, on each tree, and the tree accepting that sun. Yes, this is love. And I am one with this love. I am one with it, for I am that sun shining, and I am that tree accepting the sun. I am all that this love is: peace, joy, happiness, grace, goodness. I am that. And as I know this for me, I know this for every single person who is watching this show, who is watching, and every person on the planet, every person here is love. The sun shining and the tree accepting the sun. Each person here is peace, joy, happiness, grace, goodness, beauty, truth. And I speak my word from this place of love, and that word is goodness. For each person here, life is good. And that peace that indwells each body now goes out before each of us, making smooth and clear our ways. For that love, that peace, that goodness, that grace, abundance is already here. And for each person that accepts it, I affirm and declare that it is already so. So knowing this, I give thanks. I give thanks for Laura Topper and her wonderful show. I give thanks for Robert Brzezinski and his New Thought Media. I give thanks for every person who has watched and supported today. I'm so grateful. And so it is with that I release my word, knowing it cannot come back to me void, knowing that as I've spoken, it is done. And so it is. Amen.
And so it is. Thank you. Thank you, Reverend Martha. And thank you to everybody that has been here today or that is watching this in the future. Thank you for joining us here on the Cosmic Prayer. Bye for now.